The first time she said it, no one believed her. "I can see them," she whispered, staring past her mother's shoulder. "The ones who are about to disappear." There was no panic in her voice. No confusion. Just a quiet certainty that settled into the room like a cold draft no one could explain. Her name was Aisha Rahman. She was 11 years old. According to school records, Aisha had always been a quiet child. Observant. Withdrawn, but not troubled. Teachers described her as intelligent, with an unusual attention to detail. She noticed things others ignored, small changes in behavior, subtle shifts in tone. But nothing in her early life suggested anything beyond a sensitive personality. That changed in late September. It began with her uncle. He had come over for dinner, a routine visit. Nothing unusual. The adults talked in the living room while Aisha sat quietly at the table, drawing patterns in her notebook. At one point, she stopped and looked up at him. Witnesses later reported that her expression shifted in a way that was difficult to describe. Not fear. Not sadness. Something else. Something like recognition. She asked him a simple question. "Why are you glowing like that?" The room fell silent for a moment. Her uncle laughed it off, assuming it was a child's imagination. He joked about angels and halos, trying to lighten the mood. But Aisha didn't smile. She kept staring. "There's something behind you," she said. "It's waiting." Her mother quickly intervened, scolding her gently for being rude. The conversation moved on, but something had already shifted. A tension no one could quite name. 3 days later, her uncle was gone. No accident was reported. No clear explanation. He simply failed to return home after leaving work. His car was found parked neatly by the roadside, keys still inside. There were no signs of struggle. No witnesses. No leads. Just absence. At the time, the family treated it as a tragic coincidence. A disappearance with no connection to a child's strange comment. But Aisha didn't see it that way. She became quieter after that. Not withdrawn in the usual sense, but focused. Watching people more closely. Studying them. Then, 2 weeks later, it happened again. This time, it was her teacher. During a routine class, Aisha raised her hand and asked if she could leave early. When asked why, she hesitated before answering. "Miss Farah shouldn't stay after school today," she said. "She shouldn't be alone." The teacher dismissed it as a strange concern. When pressed, Aisha simply repeated herself. "There's something waiting for her too." The incident was reported to the school counselor. Notes were made about possible anxiety or attention-seeking behavior. Nothing more. That evening, Miss Farah did stay late. And she never made it home. The investigation that followed uncovered nothing substantial. Security footage showed her leaving the building as usual. After that, there was nothing. No signs of forced entry. No evidence of foul play. Just another person who had vanished. It was after this second disappearance that Aisha's mother began to take her seriously. According to her statement, she recalled the exact moment fear replaced disbelief. Aisha was sitting by the window, watching the street outside. Her mother approached her carefully, trying to keep her voice calm. "Aisha," she said, "when you see these things, what do you mean?" The girl didn't look at her. "They're marked," she replied softly. "Not like us." "What do you see?" A pause. Then Aisha spoke in a tone that would later be described as disturbingly precise. "They look normal at first, but if you watch long enough, you start to notice. Their shadows don't match. Their reflections come late. And sometimes there's someone standing behind them." Her mother felt a chill run through her. "What kind of someone?" Aisha finally turned to face her. "I don't think it's someone." That night, her mother did not sleep. Over the following days, Aisha began keeping a list. Names. Dates. Small notes scribbled beside each entry. At first, her mother tried to stop her. She feared it was feeding into some kind of delusion. But Aisha insisted. "I need to remember," she said, "because no one else does." When asked what she meant, she simply shook her head. "They forget them," she whispered. "After they disappear, people start forgetting." This claim was dismissed at first. It sounded impossible, absurd, until her mother tested it. She brought up her brother's name during a conversation with a distant relative. The relative hesitated, confused. Which brother? They asked. The question felt wrong. Not because it was unusual, but because it shouldn't have been asked at all. Her brother had existed. He had been part of their lives. His absence should have been obvious. But in that moment it wasn't. Over the next week, her mother noticed small inconsistencies. Photographs where her brother should have been were unclear. Not erased, but distorted. Faces slightly blurred. Figures partially obscured. Records still existed, but they felt incomplete, like something was slowly removing him. And then Aisha added another name to her list. This time, it was someone they both knew very well. Her father. When her mother saw the name, she felt a sharp, immediate dread. "You're wrong," she said, more forcefully than intended. "This is not the same thing." Aisha didn't argue. She simply looked at her mother with an expression that carried no comfort. "It's closer this time," she said. "What is?" Aisha's voice dropped to a whisper. "I can hear it now." That was the moment her mother contacted a doctor. The initial diagnosis was stress-induced hallucination, possibly linked to trauma from the earlier disappearances. Therapy was recommended. Observation. Medication, if necessary. But Aisha resisted the treatment. Not violently. Not emotionally. Just calmly. "They won't help," she said during one session. "They can't see it." The therapist noted her lack of emotional distress. That was what stood out the most. Children with hallucinations often showed fear, confusion, or agitation. Aisha showed none of these. She was not afraid of what she claimed to see. She was certain of it. And that certainty began to spread. Her father started noticing things too. At first, it was small. A reflection in the mirror that seemed slightly delayed. A shadow that didn't quite match his movements. A feeling late at night that someone was standing just outside the bedroom door, watching. He dismissed it as stress, as suggestion, something planted in his mind by his daughter's words. Until the night he heard it, a faint sound, not from outside, not from another room, but from directly behind him. A slow, deliberate whisper. He turned, expecting to see nothing. And for a moment, that's exactly what he saw. Nothing. Then, in the reflection of the window, he noticed something that did not belong. A shape, standing just behind him. Too still. Too close. He turned again, quickly this time. But there was nothing there. No sound. No movement. Just silence. The next morning, Aisha added a note beside his name. It started. That was when the family sought help from the church. According to church records, the initial request was not for an exorcism. It was for guidance. They described a child who claimed to see people marked for disappearance, a series of unexplained vanishings, and a growing sense that something unseen was watching them. The attending priest, Father Imran, agreed to visit. He arrived in the early evening, a calm, composed man in his late 50s, known for his rational approach. He had dealt with cases of alleged possession before, most of which had turned out to be psychological in nature. He did not expect this case to be different. When he first met Aisha, she greeted him politely. No hostility, no fear, just quiet observation. He later noted in his report that her gaze was unsettling, not because it was intense, but because it felt as though she was looking at something beyond him. During their conversation, he asked her directly, "What do you see?" Aisha tilted her head slightly. "You don't feel it?" she asked. He shook his head. "There's something here," she continued. "It's been following you." Father Imran paused. "Following me?" She nodded. "It doesn't like that you came." The room grew noticeably colder. He dismissed it as coincidence. A draft, perhaps. An open window. But Aisha's expression did not change. "It's standing right behind you now," she said. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, slowly, Father Imran turned around. And for the first time in years, he felt something he could not explain. Not fear, but presence. A weight in the air. A pressure that seemed to press inward from all sides. He said nothing of it at the time. But later that night, in his private notes, he wrote a single line. "I believe the child is not imagining this." The following days would prove far more disturbing, because Aisha's ability was changing. It was no longer just observation. It was becoming interaction. And the thing she claimed to see was no longer content with watching from a distance. It began with the voices. Not loud, not sudden, just a faint presence beneath ordinary sound, like something hidden under layers of silence. At first, Aisha described it as a whisper that didn't belong to any direction. It wasn't coming from outside or inside the house. It simply existed around her. According to her own words, recorded later by Father Imran, the voice did not speak in full sentences. Not at first. It repeated fragments. Names. Sounds. Broken syllables that seemed incomplete, as though struggling to form something coherent. The disturbing part was not what it said. It was how it said it. The voice did not come through her ears. She insisted it came through reflection. Mirrors became a problem almost immediately. Her mother noticed it first when Aisha began avoiding them. Not dramatically, but deliberately. She would turn her face away while passing one. She refused to sit near the large mirror in the hallway. When asked why, she hesitated longer than usual before answering. "It's clear there," she said. "What is?" her mother asked. Aisha's eyes shifted slightly, as if tracking something unseen. "It doesn't have to pretend in mirrors." That same evening, her father removed every mirror from her room. It didn't help, because reflections were everywhere. Windows, polished surfaces, even the dark screen of a switched-off television. Aisha began covering them. Towels over glass, cloth over anything that could reflect even the faintest image. Still, the voice remained. And then it changed. One night, Aisha woke her mother without a word. She simply stood beside the bed, staring down, her face pale but composed. Her mother sat up immediately. "What is it?" she asked. Aisha spoke quietly. "It said something new." Her mother felt a tightness in her chest. "What did it say?" Aisha hesitated. Then, in a voice that did not belong to a child, she repeated the words exactly as she heard them. "He's almost empty." The room fell into silence. Her mother's first thought was her husband. "Who?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Aisha didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned her head slowly toward the bedroom door. "He's standing there," she said. Her mother looked instinctively. The door was closed. There was nothing there. But Aisha's eyes remained fixed. "It's closer now," she whispered. The following morning, her father did not remember falling asleep. He claimed that the night felt interrupted, not by noise or movement, but by absence, like something had removed pieces of time. He also reported something else. A dream, though he later insisted it did not feel like one. He described standing in his own living room, looking at himself. Not a reflection, not a mirror image. Another version of him, standing still, watching. The figure did not move, did not blink. It simply stood there, slightly out of sync with the room around it. Then, slowly, its mouth opened, and something stepped out. Not physically, not in a way that could be fully described, but he felt it. A separation. Like something inside him was being pulled forward. He woke up immediately after that, breathing heavily, heart racing. But what stayed with him was not the fear. It was the certainty, the feeling that the dream had not ended, that something had followed him back. That same day, Aisha added another note beside his name. Soon. Father Imran returned that afternoon. This time, his demeanor was different, more focused, less dismissive. He began documenting everything carefully. Every statement, every observation, every small detail that might have been overlooked. He conducted a series of prayers within the house, not as an exorcism, but as a precaution. During one of these prayers, something unusual occurred. Aisha, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, suddenly spoke. "Don't say that." Her voice was calm, but firm. Father Imran paused. "What did you say?" he asked. Aisha looked directly at him. "It doesn't like those words." He continued the prayer. Aisha's expression shifted slightly. Not pain, not distress. Something closer to irritation. "It's listening," she said. At that moment, a sound came from the hallway. A soft, deliberate knock. 3 times. Everyone in the room heard it. Her mother stood up immediately, moving toward the door. "Wait," Father Imran said. But it was too late. She opened the door. There was no one there. The hallway was empty. The front door was still locked. No windows were open. No explanation presented itself. When she turned back, Aisha was no longer looking at her. She was staring at the priest. "It's learning," she said. The temperature in the room dropped noticeably. Even Father Imran felt it this time. Not imagined. Not subtle. A clear, physical change in the air. He closed his prayer book slowly. "This is no longer observation," he said quietly. "What does that mean?" her mother asked. He hesitated before answering. "It means something is responding." That evening, he requested permission to stay. The family agreed. What followed that night would later be documented as the first confirmed incident of direct interaction. It happened just after midnight. The house was silent. No movement. No sound. Until the television turned on. Not loudly. Not abruptly. Just a soft glow in the living room. Father Imran was the first to notice. He stepped out of the guest room and walked slowly toward the light. The screen displayed static. But not ordinary static. The pattern was structured. Repeating shapes. Almost symmetrical. As if something was trying to form an image, but couldn't complete it. He moved closer. And then, for a brief moment, the static shifted. Into a face. Not clear. Not stable. But recognizable enough to cause him to stop. It was Aisha. Or something that resembled her. The face on the screen did not move naturally. It flickered. Distorted. And then, slowly, its mouth opened. No sound came out. But the movement was unmistakable. It was trying to speak. Behind him, a voice echoed softly. "She's not the only one it sees." He turned quickly. Aisha was standing in the hallway. She should have been asleep. Her eyes were fixed on the screen. "It's showing you," she said. "What is it?" Father Imran asked. Aisha took a small step forward. "That's not me," she said. The screen flickered again. The image collapsed back into static. But something remained. A shape. Standing behind the figure that had appeared. Too tall. Too still. And then the television shut off. The room went completely dark. For several seconds, no one moved. No one spoke. Until Aisha broke the silence. "It knows you can see it now." Father Imran did not respond immediately. He was focused on something else. A sound. Faint. But unmistakable. Coming from behind him. A slow, steady breathing. Not his own. Not Aisha's. Something else. Something close. He turned slowly. And for the first time since entering the house, he saw it. Not fully. Not clearly. But enough. A distortion in the air. A shape that bent light around it. Standing just within reach. Watching. He stepped back instinctively. The presence did not move. But the feeling intensified. A pressure in his chest. A weight pressing inward. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it was gone. The air returned to normal. The silence settled back into place. Aisha exhaled slowly. "It doesn't like being seen," she said. Father Imran nodded, though his expression had changed. He was no longer observing. He was involved. The following morning, he made a decision. This was no longer a case for guidance or minor intervention. This required a formal exorcism. But there was a complication. According to his notes, the entity did not appear to be attached to Aisha. It was not possessing her. It was using her as a point of access, a window, and through that window, it was reaching others, including her father. That realization came too late, because by the time preparations began, Aisha's father had already started to disappear.